We generally agree that a justice system shouldn't involve torture. Today, international agreements and local constitutions explicitly forbid cruel and unusual punishment. But looking at the broader timeline of human civilization, this expectation of a humane trial is a massive outlier for most of recorded history. A quick, painless death was considered a failure of the legal system. Ancient and medieval empires lacked dedicated police forces, forensic science, or surveillance networks. If a crime happened, the chances of the perpetrator actually being caught were incredibly low. This chart illustrates the grim reality of early states, an inverse relationship between surveillance capacity and the severity of public punishment. When a ruler's ability to monitor was low, penalties for those who were caught had to be severe enough to scare everyone else into compliance. To maintain control without a modern police force, the state had to make a terrifying example of the condemned. They engineered punishments to annihilate offenders across three levels: the physical body, their standing in society, and their immortal soul. The first layer of destruction relied on turning pure agony into a public spectacle. Engineers were commissioned to design devices that stretched the limits of human endurance, specifically for the entertainment of the masses. In ancient Greece, a bronze worker designed a hollow execution device known as the brazen bull. The condemned were locked inside the metal chamber, and a fire was set beneath it, slowly roasting the person alive. The true horror was in the acoustics. A system of tubes inside the animal's head captured the victim's screams and converted them into the bellowing of a bull. As smoke poured from the nostrils, the crowd could watch the bronze statue appear to come to life. While the brazen bull used intense heat to destroy the body, the Persian Empire devised a method to prolong biological suffering over weeks. They called it scaphism. The victim was placed inside a hollowed-out log, with another log placed on top so that only their head and limbs protruded. Executioners force-fed them a mixture of milk and honey to induce severe diarrhea, then smeared the same mixture over their exposed flesh. Covered in their own filth, they were slowly consumed alive by swarms of insects. One victim reportedly endured this process for 17 days. These execution methods weaponized the victim's own biology. By prolonging the dying process, the state transformed a criminal's pain into a highly visible performance of absolute authority. Physical torture has a biological limit. The victim eventually dies. To truly crush dissent, authorities push their punishments beyond the point of death, erasing the offender's dignity and social standing. The Mughal Empire utilized elephants to trample criminals in front of the public. Even basic offenses like tax evasion could result in a public crushing. It was a terrifying display of exactly how small the individual was compared to the might of the ruler. The Roman Republic used extreme humiliation for the crime of murdering a family member. They imposed the penalty of the sack. The murderer was sewn into a leather bag alongside a live dog, a snake, a monkey, and a rooster, then thrown into a river to drown in a degrading panic. In Europe and colonial America, authorities developed gibbeting. After an execution, the criminal's corpse was strapped into an iron cage and hoisted onto a pole near a busy road or harbor. These cages were left hanging for decades. As bodies rotted, the remains of thieves and pirates became permanent landmarks in the local geography. Citizens even complained that they couldn't sleep because of the smell. By degrading a victim and leaving them to rot in an iron trap, the state replaced the individual's humanity with a grotesque symbol. The person became a permanent, horrifying social warning. For deeply religious societies, punishment extended beyond the physical and social. Rulers claimed authority over the immortal soul. Throughout the Middle Ages, criminals were subjected to the breaking wheel. An executioner would systematically shatter the victim's limbs with a heavy iron bar, then weave their mangled body through the spokes of a large wooden wagon wheel. The true terror of the wheel occurred after death. The wheel was hoisted onto a tall pole and left exposed to the elements. By exposing the corpse to carrion birds, authorities intentionally denied the criminal a proper burial, which many believed would prevent their spiritual resurrection. A similar spiritual threat underpinned the Chinese practice of ling shi, often translated as death by 1,000 cuts. Reserved for severe crimes like treason, the executioner would methodically remove portions of the prisoner's flesh over time. This process deliberately violated Confucian principles of filial piety, which required that a person's body remain whole. Being cut into pieces meant the victim's body would remain permanently fragmented, even in the spiritual realm. At its most extreme, state control did not stop at ending a citizen's life. By destroying the body, the ruling class demonstrated its power to control even eternity itself. By the 18th century, this system began to backfire on the states that used it. Public executions turned into chaotic spectacles where crowds mocked authorities and sympathized with the condemned. Rulers realized that public torture was actually undermining their authority. Stripping a criminal of dignity was no longer an effective method of maintaining order. This practical failure, combined with the rise of Enlightenment philosophy, forced governments to rewrite their legal codes. Documents like the English Bill of Rights and the U.S. Constitution limited the state's ability to physically harm its citizens. The Eighth Amendment cemented this transition, shifting justice away from vengeance and toward the protection of human dignity. By outlawing brutal punishments like the brazen bull and the iron cage, states relinquished their most terrifying tools. This transformation moved the human body beyond the reach of government cruelty, establishing a legal standard where individual integrity is absolute.
The most terrifying part of history isn't the cruelty, it's how easily it was justified.